We passed by 70.
On November 8, 2016, Florida voters overwhelmingly approved Amendment 2, making Florida the 26th state with an effective medical marijuana law. 6 million people voted for Amendment 2, while 2 million people voted against it. Alan Grinberg of GMV Law Group says the amendment has caused a lot of confusion.
And I think the biggest misconception is that everybody's under the impression that it's all written and said and done and ready to go. But really, it's almost like in Hollywood when they greenlight a project, right? They approve the movie to be made, but at that juncture, there may not be a full script. They may not have hired the leading, actors and actresses. At that point, they're just saying, okay, well, we want this movie. And the people, the great state of Florida said, well, we want this for our ill.
Amendment 2 has raised more questions than answers. A lot of people want to know if they can get marijuana right now in Florida. In 2014, the Florida Compassionate Care Act was passed, which has many people wondering about the differences between this legislation and Amendment 2. Addiction specialist Dr. Jeffrey Camlett is a passionate advocate for medical marijuana.
So the Florida Medical Compassionate Care Act, prior to November of 16, stated certain doctors who took certain continuing medical education courses could write certain products for, number one, children who have intractable seizures. So a certain strain of marijuana called Charlotte's Web was developed in California, named after a child named Charlotte who had a syndrome called Duvet syndrome. These poor children were seizing all day long and literally had no quality of life. They were put on multiple medications and had multiple adverse side effects, and nothing worked.
Charlotte's Web is a strain of marijuana with less than 0.3% THC that has gained popularity as an option for treating seizures as well as a range of other medical conditions.
Right now in Florida, a physician could write Charlotte's Web, or this 98% CBD product, for a child who has intractable seizures as long as he's been treating that patient for 3 months prior to writing that prescription. But the problem is, since this is federal, and nobody is growing it in Florida, you can't take the product, buy it in Colorado, and bring it to Florida. So this has been legal for 2 years, but no kids are getting it.
Other than children who use Charlotte's Web, the terminally ill were the only other group eligible to use medical marijuana under the Florida Compassionate Care Act.
And to be terminally ill, you have to have a letter from 2 physicians that more likely than not, you will be dead within 12 months. There has to be 2 physicians to write a letter. The second physician has to be in the specialty of which of the disease you're dying in. So if you had lung cancer, one letter had to come from a pulmonologist.
The amendment did state that the rules and regulations concerning the growers, the dispensaries, and the doctors will be written by the Florida Department of Health.
The Florida Department of Health states we won't have these rules and regulations out till at least October of 2017. So right now, as we sit here today in mid-December of 2016, nobody is getting anything, except as existed in the Compassionate Care Act.
Dana McGeehan is a University of Miami student. She says legalizing medicinal marijuana could be the answer to her prayers.
So I suffer from a few different medical conditions, including chronic migraines and ulcerative colitis. Ulcerative colitis is under the umbrella of irritable bowel disease, so like another similar disease is Crohn's disease.
With time and money running out, Dana is desperate for options. But every possible remedy requires trial and error, and that comes at a hefty price.
Control, the thing I struggle more with are the migraines. They just have not been able to get those under control, so I never really know when one is going to come on. But I'm pretty much bedridden when it happens. I have to, skip classes, skip activities, skip obligations because I can't function. This has been a years-long process of trying different medications, but running out of options.
And now, combined with Amendment 2, medicinal marijuana could be the remedy Dana and her doctors have been searching for. While Amendment 2 is a step in the right direction, Dr. Camlett believes the legislation should expand to cover even more patients with a variety of diseases.
And there are 30,000 different diseases or medical illnesses listed in that book. Yet, under this law, it looks like we may only be able to prescribe it for 7 different diseases. That makes no sense to me. I could think of 40 or 50 things off the top of my head where cannabidiol products will be extremely beneficial to patients.
Skeptics have raised questions about whether or not patients will become addicted to the substance. However, research shows that marijuana is a Class 1 drug.
The federal government will actually realize that marijuana is medicine. Marijuana is still scheduled by the federal government as a Class 1 drug, meaning it has no medicinal use and high abuse potential. So it's listed there with drugs like heroin and methaqualone and things of that nature. Even cocaine and fentanyl are Class 2 drugs because they do have some medical usages. All these drugs are extremely, extremely dangerous to use. They cause addiction, they cause overdoses, people die from them. No one has ever died from cannabis, but the federal government still considers it a level Class 1 drug via the DEA classification system.
And while the journey for medical marijuana has just begun, experts hope this new form of medicine will expand to benefit patients across the board.
I'm very happy as a physician that in the state of Florida, I will be able to provide this as a source of pain and suffering for my patients. I don't know if it's going to cure any illness. There is some research that cannabis may have some effect in the treatment of cancer and the immune system, and hopefully research will be done on this, but I certainly do believe it does help relieve pain and suffering with a very good safety profile because nobody dies from it.